My name is Louis Miller. I work for LiuGong North America out of Katy, Texas. I'm here today to show you the new 856H Tier 4 final machine, which has been completely redone from bottom to top with new hydraulics, new cab, new drivetrain, new steering system. Everything has been designed so that everything has peak efficiency when operating the machine. I'm going to actually show you inside the cab and the operation of the machine. Then you want to enter the cab. Always want 3 points of contact when climbing into the cab. Once you're inside the cab, what you want to do is you want to fasten your seat belt. Retractable seat belt. Fits nice and snug. Behind you, the operator's manual is in the pouch behind the seat. In the operation manual will give you all of the maintenance items for the machine for every day and also by hours on the machine. Okay, now we're going to walk around the machine. I will point out all the maintenance points on the machine. You have grease points at the front for the bucket. On your front arm here, lubricate the top, the bottom, and even down below. Then as we walk around the machine, in this center location, you will find more grease fittings that greases the front end, your steering system, your upper pivot point, and then your lower pivot point. Inside here on the side, you will find a decal that gives you all locations for all grease fittings. Okay, on this side of the machine, there's a compartment underneath the steps. You open the compartment door up, charge valve for the brake system. Here you have the actual brake valve that has your pressure sensors on it, along with test points to test system. Then you have your 3 accumulators that has test points on all 3 accumulators to check the pressures. This is also your fluid tank for your windshield wiper fluid. From this point up above here, below your cab, you have your foot brake valve that also has your pressure switch on it for your clutch cutout for your transmission. From this point, you can go down here to the bottom. You have your transmission fluid gauge to check and your fill point. To check your fluid gauge, you want the machine warmed up at idle and neutral position. Further back on the transmission, you have the oil filter. That oil filter is to be changed at the first 100 hours and then every 1,000 hours along with the transmission fluid. The transmission fluid you also change at 100 hours and then every 1,000 hours after that. When you're doing this, to keep from getting pinched in this pinch point, you put your brace in so that you can actually pin the machine. Also, you do the same thing when you lift the machine or you transport. Line it up, he can steer the machine. And then pin to lock. Okay, on this side of the machine, you have decals here. One is for crushing to avoid this area without the brace. The other is 3 points of contact, 3 points of contact when entering and exiting the cab. You also have a decal that gives you the 4 lift points to raise the machine up in the air, to load or move out of the way. The next compartment is your hood that actually raises and lowers your hood. Okay, inside here you'll have the switch for your hood up. You push the switch up to raise your hood. Then you have your lever here that you would put a bar in and go up and down with it in case the batteries were dead to raise your hood. To lower your hood, you would pull this pin and then operate this lever in a downward motion to lower the hood. The further you went, the faster it goes. Once you're done, you would raise it back up in the latch position and then close the door. On this side of the machine, you will also be able to find the hydraulic oil sight gauge that tells you how much hydraulic oil is in the tank up above. To do this check, you want the machine warmed up. You want to curl the bucket all the way forward, raise the boom all the way up, then lower the boom down with the bucket still curled. At that point, you come back and visually check to make sure that the oil gauge and the oil is in the middle of the sight gauge. Okay, up here on the top of the machine, you actually have your compartment for your oil tank. On your oil tank, you have a breather filter here, which is every 500 hours to replace that. Inside this compartment is your main hydraulic filter, which is to be changed at the first 500 hours and then every 1500 hours after that. Over in this compartment is the strainer, which you would actually do that every 2,000 hours along with changing your hydraulic oil also every year. You finish opening the hood all the way up on this side, then you can walk around the machine. You open up your fender, gives you full access to inside the engine compartment. Over here you have access to your variable displacement turbo, then your oil filter. Here's your engine oil filter. The first interval of changing that is at 100 hours. After that, it's every 500 hours along with your engine oil. You can check your evaporator for fluid for your air conditioning system. You have your sight gauge for your coolant up above. And then here you have your main electrical fuses for your battery system. At that point, inside this compartment, you actually have your battery and your battery disconnect switch inside. Down below, you have 4 points for drain. One for engine, one for coolant, one for hydraulic, one for transmission. From this point, we will walk around to the back of the machine where the cooling system is. At the very back, you will have the big cooler fan. To open, you raise up the lever and you can swing the cooling fan completely out in the lock position. Inside the cooling system, you have your fan, which is operating your cooling system. It's a bidirectional fan. Here you have the 4 different systems for your radiator system, all in parallel systems so that it's easy to clean and less obstruction. Close the door, you have a latch. You just pull the latch up and then close the fan door back. Here you have your diesel fill spot for your cap. Open it up, fill it up. Here you have your tank for your DEF system for your AdBlue. Here you actually have a decal that tells you how much DEF to put in according to the gauge on the dash. You will not want to overfill this. Okay, on this side of the machine, you will open up the fender door by lifting the lever, unlocking the fender, and then pulling the fender open. Gives you full access to this side of the engine. On this side of the engine, you have your fuel filter, your primary, you have your secondary. On your primary, you have a water separator, which you change that, you drain that water out daily. Change those filters every 500 hours. Right behind it, you have a 2-stage pump. That pump is for your brake system and your fan system. AC compressor, and then below it you have your pump for your DEF system. Coming further back, you have your dipstick to check your engine oil, and you have your fill to fill your engine oil. To check your engine oil, you would open up, pull your dipstick out, check your level, wipe it, fully insert it all the way into the stick, and then take it back out and recheck it one more time. Okay, on your dipstick you actually have 2 limits. You have a minimum and then full. You want to check your oil, make sure that it's in towards the full side of the mark. Then we have the air filter above it. The air filter system is a specific air filter for Tier 4 engine that keeps all dirt out of the system. The only time that you want to open that compartment is when the light on the dash tells you that there's a restriction in the air filter. Then you actually will open that, remove the primary and throw it away and install a new primary. Every 5 times that you change the primary, you will then change the secondary, the smaller one, further inside the compartment. Put it all back together and you're good. To remove the air filter, what you would do is you open up the latches, 4 latches, 2 on each side, remove the cover. That exposes your filter. To remove your filter, just pull it directly straight out, and then you can throw this away, get a new filter. When you do this, before you put the new filter in, you want to make sure that all of the dust is wiped out of the inside. Then you take and replace the filter with the new, pushing it all the way up inside, and then replace the cover. Fully close back up. On this side of the machine, we will close the door. And latch. Next, we will go up to the middle of the machine. In this location, you have a compartment here underneath the steps. You have 4 bolts. Loosen the 4 bolts, remove the door, hang the door here. Inside, you have all of your test fittings. You have your 3 mains for your system, and then you have the rest of them are for your transmission pressures. Here you have your emergency steering pump. Over on the right-hand side, you have your pilot valve and pilot accumulator, and then further in the very back, you have your pilot filter. Then on over to here, up above here, you have the steering dynamic valve, which is on your steering wheel. You turn your steering wheel, it sends a signal on down to your main steering valve, which then sends your oil out to your steering. On the far side, you have your accumulator for your smooth ride system, which activates at 7 kilometers per hour as long as you have a load in the bucket. On the inside here, you actually have the valve for your smooth ride system. Up in this upper compartment, you have a locked door. You open up your door. You have your controller for your fan system. You have your controller for the ZF transmission. Above it would be an F&R controller for the forward and reverse. You also have your test fittings to test your ZF system. Okay, maintenance on your front and your rear axle, both pretty much the same. You want to do daily inspections on your wheel bolts to make sure that they are tight every day. Once they stay tight, then you can not change it, check it again until you actually take the wheel off, then put it back on, then do it again. Okay, to check your nuts on your wheel, you would use a torque wrench to make sure that they all are tight. Once they remain tight, you no longer have to check them unless you remove the tire and put the wheel back on. Your hub, you would want to check that oil with the plug at the 10 or the 2 o'clock position, and then check your oil level to make sure that your oil level is up to that point. After that, you want to change this oil at the first 500 hours, and then after that, every 1,000 hours. Okay, inside the operator's and maintenance manual, the very first thing is your front gauge, your front console instrument panel that gives you all of your gauges for your fluid levels. Also gives you your RPM for your engine, and here you have your speed, and then the transmission, what gear you're on. This is your hour meter here, and then you have your lights in your dash on both sides that let you know if you have issues, parking brake light, things like that. This here is your headlight switch, so you can turn on your headlights, your working lights, and then off. So this here would just be working lights and then full headlights. This would be your hazards, so your hazard buttons would work. And then this is your main headlights. Over here you have a diagnostic switch and another light switch for the rear lights, along with a 24 volt outlet. Operator's manual, it will show you everything for all your switches of what they do. So you have your hydraulic lockout switch, you have your fan reverse switch, your float switch, your toggle switch for idle, your transmission lockout, amber beacon, those kind of switches is all in here. It explains it all in the manual of what every switch is for. Over on this right hand side, you have your rear wiper, you have your F&R switch, and then your hydraulic auxiliary lockout, along with the diagnostic connector for diagnostics. Here in this console, you have your F&R switch for forward and reverse. You have your kick down button and your horn button. Here you have your levers for your hydraulics. You have your auxiliary hydraulics, your main boom up and down hydraulics, and then your bucket tilt. Here you have your parking brake switch. Over here you have the air conditioning and heater controls for your heater and air conditioning. It's all automatic. Your on and off switch, AC or auto, temperature setting, fan setting. Then you have your radio controls. So you can turn your radio on, set your radio station. Here in the front part, you actually have your transmission control. So you can have your manual mode with the switch up or your auto mode with the switch down. This location here is your monitor for your rear view mirror, so that when you're going backwards, you can actually see what is behind you. When you have the key switch on, your dash will give you different readings and lights depending upon the situation of the machine. Whenever a light is on and flashing, that means that right now we have the key on. So we look at the gauges to make sure that everything is lit up according to the operator's manual. For more information about maintenance and operation, please see the operator's and maintenance manual inside the machine. Thank you for your attention. Bye-bye.